Good morning, everybody. My name is Doug Wigdor, D-O-U-G-L-A-S, Wigdor, W-I-G-D-O-R. I'm a founding partner of Wigdor LLP, and I have the privilege and honor of representing two women who have civil claims against Harvey Weinstein, Wigdor David, whose case is pending around the corner at 500 Pearl Street in the Southern District. I also represent Kaya Sokolow, who was 16 at the time that she was allegedly sexually assaulted by Harvey Weinstein. Her claim under the Child Victims Act is pending over here on Center Street in New York State Supreme Court. I also represent a woman, Jane Doe, who is yet to be identified at this trial. She will be testifying as one of the three Molineux witnesses. She will be testifying in the course of this trial. Let me just say this. The last time I stood before this courthouse, before a crowd such as you, was at the beginning of the dawn of a different decade. It was 2011. And in 2011, I had the privilege of representing Nafissatou Diallo, the maid who we allege had been sexually assaulted and raped by Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Unfortunately, that case ended with the district attorney dismissing the indictment. But today, we start a new decade, a decade that has come so far in the Me Too movement. And today, we are beginning the process of holding Harvey Weinstein accountable for his actions. And so much has changed since 2011 because of Me Too. We no longer are strapped with the rape myths, and the jurors that will start selecting tomorrow and going through next week are in tune with the common rape myths, that people aren't necessarily raped in dark alleys at gunpoint or knife point, that women often know their perpetrator, that women often speak to the perpetrator after the crime has been committed, that women often don't go to the police or to authorities or tell their loved ones immediately after they've been sexually assaulted or raped. And this case will be a testament and will be a trial not only about Harvey Weinstein, but where we have come as a society. Because the rape myths that the defense keeps talking about people being actresses, about people having contact with Mr. Weinstein after the alleged crimes, those are the things of the last decade, not this decade. And I am very confident that New York jurors will see through those cross-examinations. As I indicated, I represent a Jane Doe. She will be identified by her name later on during this trial. She was raped in 2005 here in New York at Harvey Weinstein's apartment, and there will be more details about her, and I will address you about that. She will not be making any statements or doing any interviews during the course of this trial. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one other thing, which is, considering that I represent two other women with civil claims, I should note that my client here, who's testifying in the criminal trial, has no civil claim. Her claims are barred by statute of limitations. She's not doing this for the money. She's doing this to hold Harvey Weinstein accountable for his actions and to help the victims in this case and the prosecution in this case. That is her only motivation. And I would be remiss, though, if I did not talk about the purported and alleged settlement that's been in the news over the last few weeks, because that settlement is one of the worst civil settlements that I have ever seen. It is a one-sided civil settlement, and my two clients, Wigdor David and Kaya Sokolow, as well as many other women who have contacted me in the last few weeks, will be vigorously objecting to that civil settlement. It's the only civil settlement that I've seen that pays $12 million to the director defendants who we allege were part of the scheme to enable Harvey Weinstein. There are also millions of dollars going to class counsel. There are also millions of dollars going to vendors, secured creditors. And to make matters even worse, to the people who want to opt out of the civil settlement, they are trying to bind them by providing releases to the insurance companies and providing releases to the directors. And my biggest surprise, frankly, is that the Attorney General, the former public advocate, is not standing with me shoulder to shoulder and denouncing the civil settlement and making sure that Harvey Weinstein is held accountable not only in this courthouse for his criminal wrongdoing, but in the civil courthouse for the civil wrongs he committed. So I ask her to join me in objecting to the civil settlement on behalf of my clients and the other women who have contacted me. I'll answer a few questions if anyone has any.
You speak about a new era, but Harvey Weinstein was accused by almost 100 women, and here he's in court based on 2 cases. So how can you reconcile that with this new era you talk about?
Well, he's in court here based on 2 victims, but there's also a 3rd victim. I'm sure Ms. Allred will be talking about that victim since that's her client. But there are actually 6 women who are going to be testifying in this case, 3 Molineux witnesses, 1 witness who's a predicate for the predatory sexual assault case, and then 2 main victims. It is a substantial case. The prosecution, in my view, has a very strong and compelling case. I expect the jurors to understand the case and to debunk the defenses and the cross-examination that I expect to happen. I don't believe will have any traction, and I expect there to be a conviction.
How important are the pattern witnesses? How important are the pattern witnesses?
The witnesses who will be testifying under Molineux, which is the name of a case, I believe are very strong. Bill Cosby case is a great sort of piece of evidence for that. If you recall, in the first trial in Bill Cosby ended in a hung jury. There was only 1 equivalent of a Molineux witness. And then in the second trial, which ended his conviction, there were numerous. So I expect the same thing to happen here. When you have 6 women testifying about a sexual assault and a rape, it is much harder for the defense to cross-examine each one of these women and try and attack their credibility. At some point, the jurors are just going to start to blame the defense and look like they're victim bashing, which is exactly what they're doing.
Doug, in bringing up your prior client, were you suggesting that the district attorney came to this case reluctantly?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that I've been on record that I believe this district attorney's office made a mistake when they dismissed the indictment in the Diallo-Dominique Strauss-Kahn case. I believe there was overwhelming physical evidence in that case. And I believe that people's views and how they want to prosecute cases evolve. And so I applaud Cy Vance and Jonah Luzzi for taking this case to trial and holding Harvey Weinstein accountable, and for looking past some of the things that used to be what we refer to as rape and sexual assault myths, and understanding that, again, people are not always, and usually not, sexually assaulted and raped in dark alleys at gunpoint and knife point, and that they're usually raped and sexually assaulted by people they know, and they often continue to be in contact with those people. And that is what this trial, in many respects, will be about, where we have come as a society.
Can you
Yeah.
explain again why your 2 sisters that you represent, not the Molineux ones, but the other 2 are not criminal charges?
You'd have to ask that question to the district attorney's office, but I have faith that they have put together a case that they believe gives them the best chance to obtain a criminal conviction. There's a lot of strategy as a former prosecutor myself that goes into that, and I won't speculate as to why they did or didn't do that. All right, thank you, everyone.